Hello. My name is Boehnke, and this is my CS499 capstone code review. So for the first artifact that we're going to go over, I chose to pick my 3D modeling scene from my CS330 computational graphics and visualization class. And so before we hop into the code, let's go ahead and launch the program so we can show exactly what it does. As you can see here, we have a 3D model scene here. Has 4 objects in the scene, as well as a floor plane and a wall plane, and also includes one of the objects as a complex object with more than one shape. So let's hop into the code. Also part of the model scene as well, you have WASD navigation for moving side to side, front and back, mouse integration as well, and then Q and E for going up and down, and then an orthogonographic, I think that's how you say it, viewpoint that you can switch between with these O and P. So let's go ahead and hop into the code. First, we have our scene manager header file, holds all of the information for managing and preparing and rendering of the 3D scene, such as the textures, materials, and lighting. And then we also have the scene manager CPP file, also for managing and preparing the rendering of 3D scenes, textures, materials, and lighting, and it includes the scene manager header file. So far, it's all commented really well. It has nice big header comments. It's all structured very well. All of the loops and everything are embedded well. There's our while loop and everything. Let's move on to the view manager CPP file. Actually, let's do the header file first because we started with the scene manager header file. So here you manage the viewing of 3D objects within the viewport. So this is constructing the viewport itself. We have our view manager class with the public, private, and public. Next, we'll go on to the view manager CPP file. Also manage the viewing of 3D objects within the viewport, camera, and projection. So you can see that, again, it's all commented very well, structured, spaced out evenly, easy to read, mouse position callback, process keyboard events, so it has the logic for all of the moving around in the scene as well. As far as the shape meshes, we'll kind of brush through this one because it's a long code file. This is where we create meshes for the 3D primitives: box, cone, cylinder, plane, prism, sphere, tapered cylinder. We'll go over the load box mesh really quick. We have the position and color data here, and then the index data. And obviously, as we get farther down, if we were to scroll to like the sphere, that one is a little bit more in depth right here. Create a sphere mesh by specifying the vertices and store it in the VAO and VBO. And normals and textures coordinates are also set. So this one obviously has a lot more vertices, so it's a little bit more in depth than the other meshes, but we don't have to go on to the rest of them. We have our shader manager to manage loading and setting of our shaders so that the objects, look the way that they need to look. And then we have our main code file here. Has our main. We go on, initialize the GLFW, initialize GLEW, and so on. So overall, for the project, it has has a pretty good organization, I would say. It's well organized. It's spaced out very well, easy to read, um, not really jumbled. Um, I would say that um, there is an inefficiency in the what is it? It's an inefficiency in the amount of textures that we can have. We're limited to 16 textures, so obviously as we go further into the enhancements for this, we'll have to potentially adjust that as we're wanting to make it more of a more realistic look. So 16 textures might not be sufficient enough. As far as documentation, like I said before, it has, really nice header comments for each section and everything, as well as big header comments for the top of each file. So it's easy to read, easy to understand what exactly each file is for and what it does. For the variables, they all follow good naming conventions, easy to follow, easy to understand. There are no redundant or unused variables that I can tell in the project. As far as arithmetic operations, we don't directly deal with float quality comparisons, so we don't have to really worry about that. And for the loops and branches, we also logic. It's all the loops and everything are structured logically and embedded the way they need to be as well. And they all follow, proper commenting and everything to make them easy to read and easy to follow. As far as defensive programming or security, we do have good error handling as far as being able to load images or not being able to, or the not implemented to handle image with blah 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 channels. The error handling overall is pretty solid for the project, pretty through and through. So as far as enhancements that I would like to do on this project, I first off visually want to improve the project based on the image that I submitted in the Module 1 assignment. The comparison image between these objects and the real life object scene that I based it off of. This pink object and the blue object are supposed to be books, but obviously in the scene they are seemingly just colored boxes with textures on them and a little bit of shine or ambient occlusion or all of that. So I want to improve the overall lighting to help showcase the dimensions of the objects. Obviously right now the objects look pretty flat. With very little variation between the harsh shadows. Obviously you can see the really dark shadow on this left side here. I also want to go through and enhance the materials. So there's small shine on each object, and there's kind of bright shine right here. But they're very, very harsh and don't really follow realistic standards. I also want to upgrade the quality of the textures. Obviously these, I believe they're supposed to be colored paper to represent the books, but I would like to have proper textures for these books so that they look like books and the mapping is correct to follow the edges the way that they should. I also would like to improve the object models. So this white object over here is supposed to be a pill bottle. It's actually like an Advil bottle that I had. So there's a little bit of definition in it, and there is a texture on it as well. But overall, I would like to improve that to make it more of a realistic feel. Aside from the visual aspects of the project that I like to improve, I want to improve operational pieces of it as well. So obviously we have the WASD movements and Q&E and the perspective view, but I would like to add a zoom function so that you're able to zoom in on specific objects or specific areas of the scene. I also would like to add object-focused perspectives. So like we have the orthogonographic, I'm never going to be able to say that word. This perspective, I would like to add some more, but ones that specifically focus on the objects at hand. This is based on one specific focal point, but I want those focal points to be on the different objects that you can switch between, using the different keys on the keyboard or whatnot. And then lastly, I want to add kind of like the object focus ones, I want to add axis focus points. So as you click through keys on the keyboard to be able to switch between the X, Y, and Z axis. So that's pretty much it for the first artifact. Okay, so moving on to category 2. This is for the algorithms and data structures category. And we have a second artifact here. This is my advisor assistance program from CS499 Data Structures and Algorithms. And so before we look at the code, let's go ahead and load up the project, see what we're working with. So we have this menu. We have 4 options. We can load courses, print course list, print course information, or simply just exit. So let's go ahead, type in 1 to load the courses, and then we can press 2 to print them. Now we have our list of courses here printed out. Let's go on and type in 3 so that we can learn more about a course. It prompts you with which course would you like to learn or to know more about. For example, let's go with CSCI 200, and that would be data structures. So here prints out the course ID, which is what we just typed in, our course title, the data structures, and the prerequisites for the course, and it's CSCI 101, which is Introduction to Programming in C++. So, and then obviously we have our last option 9 to exit, and it prints out, thank you for checking out the course planner. Awesome. So here we have our code file. First we have our course info structure to build the course itself, our hash table for storing the courses. We have the initializing the table, insert the course into the hash table, search for our courses, list all of the courses, and then load course into the hash table from the CSV file, and it has error handling for unable to open the file. The CSV file that we're working with is the CS499 ABCU Advising Program Input CSV. It's right over here. And as you can see, there's 8 courses that are loadable from the file. Moving on, we still have our while loop for loading those, and then we insert into the hash table and close it. Then we have our function for printing the courses, print specific course information, and then our main function here. It also pulls the CSV file from this direct file path. Obviously, this isn't very efficient, so on the list of the enhancements, this will be adjusted as needed. And then we have our while loop here with our switch case for our menu, and as well our different outputs. Thank you for the course planner, or choice was invalid. So overall, the project itself is generally structured pretty well. It's all spaced out evenly. The different structures and classes are created and structured with easy to read, easy to understand. They all make sense. The naming conventions and everything also make sense as well. The documentation, it's thoroughly commented through the whole project. I think that there could be a little bit more in-depth commenting, especially as we saw in the last artifact. There were big comment headers in the top. I really liked that. So I think that would probably be an adjustment as well. But as far as, each method and function, it's commented well and pretty easy to follow and understand. As far as the variables, they are defined pretty properly and understandable. As far as course ID, title, prerequisites, and whatnot. For arithmetic operations, it's not really a primary focus in this project. This is a fairly straightforward project, easy to follow, easy to understand. The loops and branches, they are all complete, correctly implemented and embedded in the different functions and everything. As far as defensive programming, we have the proper what is it called? Error handling. Sorry, proper error handling and everything, outputting the different outputs that we need. Course not found, or if we type in a choice that is not listed, we have a choice is invalid. Overall, it's structured very well and easy to understand. I will say that the hash table has a cap at 50 for courses. Obviously, if you're implementing this into a university, they're obviously going to need more than 50 courses for the hash table and everything, because they have so many degree programs. But for the project itself, as it is, pulling from a CSV file that only has 8 courses listed and a 50 course cap, it's well sufficient enough for it. As far as this assistance program for advising and the enhancements that I would like to do on it, the first one that I would like to do is I would like to add scheduling into it. So basically the idea is that you add another option into the list. So let's make it number 4. And it would be create schedule. And as you go through, you can create a list of courses for the student's schedule. But obviously it would have checks and error handling for prerequisites, because obviously if you haven't taken CSCI 101, you don't need to be taking CSCI 400. So having those checks in there would be essential as well. The next enhancement I would like to do, based off of the example that was given in the course as well, is I would like to be able to port this to another language, specifically Python. I think that this project would be a good project to port over and showcase obviously my knowledge so far in C++, as well as being able to transfer the structure of the project into a different language and have it function the way that it needs to function there as well. Also, the last part of the enhancement for this project that I would like to do, which ties into the porting to Python, is that I would like to do a performance analysis. So based on how this program is structured and performs in C++, I would like to do an analysis comparing it to how it performs running in Python. I would like to focus on comparing the overall optimization, time complexity, and just efficiency of the project between the two languages. And I also think that doing the analysis will help me meet the number 2 course outcome criteria, which would be to design, develop, and deliver professional quality oral, written, and visual communications that are coherent, technically sound, and appropriately adapted to specific audiences and context. So that will be pretty much it for our second artifact. All right, on to our last, our third and final artifact here. We have the inventory app I created for CS360 mobile architecture and programming. So before we hop into the code, let's go ahead and check out the program. First off, you get a login screen. How about we try to create a login, or try to log in without creating one. So let's do Piggy for the username and Hamlet 1123 for the password. Try to log in. It says login failed at the bottom here. All right, so then we need to register. Try that again. Piggy and Hamlet 123 for the password, and create the account. Now it says account created successfully, and we can go ahead and log in. Now, as far as our inventory, currently we have a hose that was obviously from whenever I created this for CS360. But we can go ahead and add an item. So let's look for, or let's add a I don't know, let's add a ham. We'll do 3 hams. Add item. The item pops up down here and add it to the inventory list. Now, if we want to edit the item, and click on it, change it, and we're going to change it to 1 ham because we ate 2. And then we click edit item again and adjust the quantity to 1. Now, if we want to remove the item, select the item, click remove, and it says delete item. Are you sure you want to delete the ham? I click yes, and it removes it from the inventory. Also at the bottom here, we have the SMS permissions. This app requires SMS permissions to send alerts, allow SMS permissions, or deny SMS permissions. Click allow. SMS permissions are already granted. So obviously I already did that for the last course. And then finally we have our logout button. So go ahead and go through the code. The first file we have here is the database helper. The database runs through SQLite. which is going to be changed with the enhancements that I will go over at the end of this. But yeah, so we have all of this. We have the on upgrade, add the users, check the user, add item, remove item, update item, get all items, all that good stuff. Now we have our inventory activity here. That extends from the app compact activity. All right, we have the on create, and all that, load inventory, add item, remove selected item, edit selected item, and our logout option. Next is our inventory adapter here. This is the inventory adapter and extends from the base adapter. We have our inventory adapter, update items, get count, get item ID, get the view, and select the set selected item. Our next file is the item themselves. So we have our class for the item, string for the name, integer for the quantity, and then we have the ID, name, quantity here. And then we have the get ID, get name, and get quantity. Next, the login activity. This also extends from the app compact activity. We have our on create, the login user, and then on to our main activity, which is the on create redirect login. Our register activity here for new users. We have the on create account, and all of that. And then finally, we have our SMS permission activity. On create request SMS permission, on request permission result, and then our if else, and all that good stuff. So overall, the code itself is, I mean, it's a basic inventory app for tracking inventory, and has the functionality for logging in, logging in and registering accounts, as well as adjusting the inventory for adding items, editing them, and removing them, and as well as having SMS permissions implemented as well. Let's see, as far as the structure of it, I mean, it's structured very well. It's spaced out well and easy to read through. Nothing's really jumbled or out of line. Everything's indented correctly, and follows general conventions here. As far as the documentation, there are comments here and there as we go through. I definitely think that adding more comments as part of the enhancement would be beneficial, as a lot of the chunks of code here are missing extensive comments for general comprehension. It makes it a little bit harder to understand what each piece of the code is doing, what its functionality is, and why it is the way it is. As far as the variables, they're overall generally well named, easy to understand. They follow pretty easy naming conventions. As far as the arithmetic operations, I mean, we don't really deal with any floating point comparisons or anything. So, because we're dealing with strings and integers for this program, as far as the names and the quantities for things and such. I haven't seen, or there's not really any um, chunks of code that are, or chunks of code or pieces that are not being used, or testing strips that were left behind. Um, and as far as the loops and branches, they are all structured well and indented um, correctly the way they need to be. Um, and then finally, as far as the defensive programming or security, um, there is input validation for um, sorry, there there is input validation. I think it does lack in some security aspects, but um, obviously we can't log in without having a registered user, and we can't like we can't access the application without having a registered account as well, or is what I mean. As far as the um, enhancements that I would like to do for this project, the first one I would say is I would like to transition this application from SQLite to MySQL. Currently, I mean, it functions on SQLite, and it limits its collaborative ability because obviously this app would most likely, maybe not in all cases, but most likely be used by more than one user at each um, like each I mean company, if they were to implement it or something like that. More than one user would need to be able to adjust the inventory typically. MySQL allows for multi-user management and allows for concurrent users to have access to the inventory. Um, and then as far as some security enhancements, um, I would like to implement a role-based security. So right now, if you have a login, you can access the inventory and adjust everything. But I think having a role-based access where you have general users and administrators, where only the administrators can adjust the amount of quantity and stuff. I think that would be beneficial. I also think implementing some client side and server side input validations with queries for SQL injection prevention. I mean, I think there's room to improve the security aspects of this program. Um, so I think implementing that would be beneficial as well as implementing a backend API, so that the communication efforts um, we can add like another layer of security for uh, privacy and data integrity and everything. And then lastly, using secure communication efforts between the mobile app, the backend API, and everything as far as encryption. Then the last enhancement I would like to add to this is some data analysis. So obviously, as we get in here, let me log back in. Oh, okay, there we go. As we log back in, we have our hose here. I would like to be able to, as we add items, edit them, and remove them, be able to provide some type of data analytics for how many times did we run out of hoses, or how many times did we sell out a ham or something like that. I think that would be really beneficial to, especially for I guess more of like a marketing standpoint as well. Um, just understanding what the hot objects are, and everything like that. So yeah, um, that is the last artifact for the code review. And I look forward to beginning my work on these 3 projects and enhancing them in the best way that I possibly can. Thank you.